Dave from California asked, hey Joe, how did you fill your buckets? How did you transition from working and saving to filling up your bucket one of money, which gets you through a small down market, maybe 3-4 years. And then you also have a bucket two that gets you through an extended down market, maybe another 3 or 4 years. Then you have bucket three, which is the engine of growth. How did you transition from just getting a monthly paycheck, saving in your 401k, to being retired and having your buckets filled? Common question. I've tried to answer this in previous videos and apparently not getting through, not communicating, so I'm trying a little bit different approach today. Here's my 3x5 card. I've got 3 steps that I want to walk through. And then on the back side of this, I got lessons learned. And then some comments about some other channels, other YouTube creators that I like, that I want to add. So make sure you hang on for that. So first thing, I went to college to be a mechanical engineer. I graduated at 22 years old. I was debt-free because I did something called co-oping. I worked a semester, went to school a semester, worked a semester, and then went to school a semester. I got paid, and that allowed me to graduate debt-free. So when I started working at a company called Alco, a big aluminum making giant at the time, started in 1987, I put 9% into my 401k. The company matched 6%, so hey, I'm saving 15%. I was making more money than I could dream about from being a poor college student. So over time, you know, I want you to hear this theme. Over time, when I got a pay increase, when I got a promotion, cost of living, I just kept increasing that 9% up until the time I retired. I was saving about 22. So I really, if I got a $300 a month increase, I would probably put $100 towards lifestyle creep, and then the other $200 I would put towards savings. Okay, either I'd always up my 401k, and then I would put some in a brokerage investment account. So that's kind of a theme for you. Now that once I got up to around 22%, that was a combination of brokerage, 401k, and something called deferred comp. Okay. The second thing I want to talk about is deferred comp. What is that? A lot of people may not know what that is, but at the age of 29, I reached a superintendent level, kind of a second level supervisor role, and they opened up the opportunity for me to save some of my paycheck and not pay taxes on it. It's kind of like a 401k. The difference is, as soon as you terminate with the company, stop employment, you can take that immediately. So if you terminate, say I retired at 54, I started a 10-year payout, 1/10 every year for 10 years. Now, I had to select that when I was 29 years old, and my thinking was, I'd kind of like to retire at 55. That was always been my plan. I'll take this deferred comp for 10 years. That gets me to 65, and then I'm eligible for Medicare and may take Social Security at that time. That sounds smart. That ended up being brilliant, but I'm telling you, I didn't harp on that decision for more than like 10 minutes. Remember, it's about, let's say, 1994 at the time. So you didn't have the internet, you didn't have access to a lot of information that we have today. So you just kind of talked to a few people, studied the HR manual, employee benefits, and that makes sense to me. So this deferred comp really kind of acts more like a brokerage account that you got access to it, you invest it, but when you pulled money out, it acted like a 401k. You had to pay ordinary income on the distributions from it. And I put 6% in that. Immediately when I was, so say I was putting 10% in my 401k at the time, immediately put 6% more in there. So I'm saving 10% and I'm getting a company match of 6%, okay? So that gets me to 16, and then I added 6% on top of that with my deferred comp, it has me at 22. So that's not the exact math, that's just how it works, okay? That's a little early. I wasn't fully at 22% savings at 29 years old. I was having too many kids. I probably had 3 kids at that time. But that was, step 2 is my deferred comp. I invested in that, and that really solved my problem of how am I going to get money before 59 and a half. I get it through my deferred comp. I got a pension of $16,000 a year. So my deferred comp and my pension, maybe 75, 80% of my expenses when I retired came from that. And the balance, my thought was going to come from my part-time work, okay? Part-time consulting, I did that. My target was, work 4 or 5 days a month. And I did that not very long. I retired in 2019, and did something happen in 2020 that upset my consulting? Yeah, you know what that was, the big pandemic. So I didn't make any money at all after that. I started a YouTube channel, and, wham, bam, 3 years later, after making a YouTube channel, I started making money. So don't think YouTube channel is a get-rich-quick scheme. It's actually a passion project. Those that think you're working, making a YouTube channel, and it's all fun and all money coming in, yeah, after about 2 to 3 years. So the first step was I started saving in 401k early. Second step was I started this deferred comp account. For most of you, that's just like a brokerage account. Just automatic brokerage account would have been smarter, actually. That was a do-over I'd like to have, but, it's not what I did. And number 3, and I hinted at this earlier, whenever I got a bonus, and a lot of my pay was variable. It was based on the results that we got, and any raises I got, all that kind of stuff. I just kind of socked it away the last 10 years into a brokerage account. About 3 years away from retiring, I shifted some of that brokerage money towards cash. When I say cash, I'm talking about money market funds, bonds, things like that. But you got to remember, this is 2016, 17, and 18, 3 years before I retired. Those weren't paying much, but I did shift to get 3 years of cash. Now this 3 years of cash, that's not my full expenses for 3 years. Remember, I had deferred comp that was going to pay out the first year I was going to retire, and I also had a pension. So the cash that I needed was only 20 to 30% of my expenses, okay? Now, and if I, through my consulting, made money, that's just gravy on top of that, okay? So hopefully that makes sense. Now that was my bucket 1. So I created my bucket 1 about 3 years out. Money I needed for expenses on top of deferred comp and pension. Then I created another 3 years in my brokerage that was 60-40. 60% stocks, 40% bonds. Think of a Wellington fund with Vanguard. That's what I just bought. Just bought a Wellington fund. So by the time I retired, I had 3 years that I needed on top of those incomes in cash, very secure CDs, kind of things like that, money market funds, and then another 3 years in balanced. So that's where I was. Now, at the time, the day I retired, I had 0 Roth. My company didn't have that option for me by the time I retired. It's very standard now, but it wasn't at the time. So I started converting. So I am doing a lot of converting right now. So that's kind of how I transitioned. A couple lessons learned, what I would do differently. Let's see. Yeah, you gotta really think through as early as possible, like today, where you're gonna get your source of income from in retirement if you retire before 59 and a half. Yes, you got the rule for 55, pull money out of your 401k. There's rules for that. Look that up, Rule 55, 401k, a brokerage account. I had a deferred comp account, but think of it like a brokerage account for the average person. You know, and number two, I wrote down lessons, you know, luck. You know, I was lucky the stock market performed like it did. It just ran like crazy, you know, from like 2009 up through 2018. So that 8, 9, 10-year period was great. Also, I consider it luck that I decided somehow to pick a 10-year payout on my deferred comp, and then I started saving early, and I just wasn't used to the money that I was making. And early on, I started peeling that off so I didn't miss it. And that's, you know, I got to credit my mom and dad for how they raised me. I just didn't believe in wasting money on things. I believed in value. The third lesson in here, folks, you know, when I started working, it was 1987. There was almost no information out there that was easy to get on how to invest, how to start saving early, you know, what's a 401k, why you should invest in one, what, you know, Roth, you know, wasn't even talked about back then. But that is so easy today. There's really no excuse for not going on YouTube and just Googling, you know, retirement savings plan. There's so much information out there given away for free that you can get. And you know, you got people like me sharing their stories. So there's no excuse for not studying today. That, you know, a lot of people complain about how difficult things are today and inflation and how hard it is to buy a house. I'm telling you, information is so much easier to get today to make your decisions, and that's huge. That's huge. Now, one of the comments, I want to talk about other channels. You know, there are a lot of great channels out there from professionals, financial advisors, talking about how the Rule 55 works, when to take Social Security, all these kind of rules, how the tax law works. But there's a couple of us that talk from personal experience. And these are just stories about how people take in the information, make decisions, how it worked out for them. Real players. These people aren't teachers. These people are living in the consequences of their decisions. And my plan that I'm sharing with you took me 36 years to execute. Okay, 4 years of college, 32 years of work. And then then you could probably add another 5 years onto that. But my retire early story was a 36-year journey. Dwayne has a channel, a guy named Dwayne, Retire on 500K. He has a channel dedicated to retiring on modest income. He's a single guy. He's got a girlfriend, but you know, I get asked a lot of questions around, you know, can you make a video for a single person? Well, no, I can't. I would just be speculating. My area of expertise is my life. I can't say how I would potentially do something as a single person. Well, Dwayne's out there. He has a modest amount of savings, and he's got a great channel. Check him out, Retire on 500K, Dwayne. He's out in California. Another guy that, you know, these are just two other journeys. Dion Talks Financial Freedom. Dion was a long-haul truck driver, at least that's the way I understand it, and then he taught a commercial driver's license, CDL, training, very modest income, and, you know, he's like, you know, 40 years old, and he decided to, not much in savings, and in 10 years, through real estate, has retired. I call it the zero to hero story. 10 years. That's not my story. I get asked a lot about, you know, how's real estate, you know, factor in, and can I talk about real estate? And, you know, I'm like, no. But Dion Talks Money, Talks Financial Freedom. He did this in 10 years. 10 years, you know, midlife. I don't know how old Dwayne is. You know, I would guess he's about 55, 56 now. So maybe around, you know, 45 or so. He decided to get real serious and work a real estate plan, and check him out. It's an inspiring story. I wouldn't have been able to do that, and that's not my story. So here's two other stories of people, one on a modest income, one that did it through real estate, and my plan took 36 years, which, you know, that's just my story. So there you go. This video was around how did I convert from working to retirement and fill my buckets. Hopefully that made sense to you. Let me know in the comments. Got any more questions? If you're not reading the comments, you're missing out. There's a lot of gold in there, and probably 80% of my content comes from your comments. Show out.